Are you ready to join me in transforming fear to freedom? That's the objective of the show. Are you ready to explore with me and my guests? Are you ready to get into the deep and play? This is where it's at, and that's what it's all about. No medical advice here. Use discernment and decide for yourself if the information is right for you. All views and opinions expressed on this show belong to the individual and are not necessarily shared with the producer of the show. Want more details? Go to letsgetrealchattinwithcatherine.com. Now let's get real and have some fun. Who are we going to explore with today? Come on with me and let's get into the deep. Welcome back. Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine, and today my guest, Rose Sangregorio. And I always get excited when I'm going to be chatting with Rose because she's so connected to spirit and she's so easy to talk to and easy to understand, and she really shares some powerful insights. She has many tools on her website. She gives workshops, she has CDs, and she has a book, which we have talked about before on the show, on several chats actually. You can get the YouTube video right from the show page, lgrcc.com. Go to the guest link and read her bio and read all about what she's been doing and her metaphysical insights. She is the founder and director of the Metaphysical Center of Canada Corporation in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and she works all over the world. She does a lot of work in Denmark. She also does a lot of, and her book has been translated as well for the Danish people, and she is doing pilgrimages. She's done many of them, and she's doing a few right now, so you can check those out as well. I'm going to put some links up for you during our conversation for her book, and she has a CD that she mentions, so I have a link there that you can check out. And this was a very interesting conversation because today we're really chatting about what's happening on this planet. It's February 19th, 2014, and there's a lot going on, a lot of chaos, a lot of stuff coming to the surface. People are becoming more aware of the environment we're living in, collectively, in each country, in our food supply, all kinds of things. And so I wanted to really check in with Rose and see what her higher guidance would share with us on that. And she had some really cool tips, some insight, some very positive sharing, I think. So let's get into this conversation with Rose Sangregorio on Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine right now. So it's just absolutely fantastic to be back again with Rose Sangregorio of the Metaphysical Center of Canada Corporation. Thanks for joining me, Rose.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm excited to see what we're going to talk about today because I don't know. So we'll see what comes up and what we talk about, and hopefully it'll be some interest to everyone that listens. I'm thinking it'll probably be a lot of interest to people who listen. But thank you for creating the space and for.
Well, I love that you are so willing to go with the flow with me because, you know, sometimes it's hard when you don't really know, but I have really come to trust, and I know you trust. I mean, that's how you work all the time with spirit. And for me, it's sometimes the shows are really clear to me. It's like we want to talk about this specific thing, but sometimes it's like I'm so open, and I have a feeling that with the shifts that have been happening on the planet, and it's become more commonly known that we're in the fifth dimension now, so the energies are different. Personally, I have gone through some major transitions, and I really am feeling a lot lighter, a lot happier, a lot more full of hope. And at the same time, and I'm, you know, speaking also what I'm getting a feeling from the audience and what's going on in the world, I'm not a big news junkie anymore. Since I got out of politics, I try to stay away from the news as much as possible, but you know, I figure if there's something that I need to know, it'll come to my attention. And lately, there's been a lot coming to my attention, Rose, and I really feel like that's where something I'd like to find out from your guides or your inspiration, what you're picking up on, because I know we were told it was going to get a little rocky, But what I'm noticing, it's not just one thing. It's several different countries are in chaos right now. I'm not going to go into all the negatives. Everybody already knows that stuff. But there's a lot of chaos in countries. There's a lot of news about our food supply, some of the stuff that's toxins that we maybe were aware of a little bit. Now we're getting to know more about. So there's a lot of news, a lot of awareness, a lot of noticing what's going on in the world. And I'm just wondering if there's some kind of better way that we can look at this, maybe from a different perspective, a higher perspective, to see what's really going on here.
Okay. Wow. I don't typically watch the news. My son has been glued to the TV watching all the Olympic competitions, but not necessarily the news part of it.
Right.
So what can I say? On a general level, this year is the year that we are going to anchor more fully in the physical what we've all been talking about for years and years, the spiritual presence, the ascended self, or the fifth dimensional self. Different teachings call it different things, the Christed or the Buddhic self. So to be able to anchor that part of us, that spiritual expanded presence of who we really are in a physical body, and then here I am in a physical body now, I'm present. My personality of Rose Sangregorio is who I am, and that's how people recognize me. Right. They recognize my personality.
Right.
So the personality of who I was, for example, before the ascended self comes into anchor, is the personality that is based on all my fears, my thoughts and feelings and structures that are created from my fear.
Right.
And then with that, I'm going to say in opposition to it, in polarity to it, would be the part of my personality that is the loving part, the compassionate part. But they've always been in opposition, and this is what's been going on for all of us. And so we've been wanting to, through all the work we all do, everyone does different things, right. But the end result is we want to be in a physical body as a spiritual being, or as the ascended self. We want to be physically present here so that no longer is the part of my personality that's in the negative form right. is coming through me, but that beautiful, spiritual, compassionate, loving presence is what everyone sees all the time. And maybe we have a little blip, and maybe we have anger at one moment, but it's so short and it's so quick and it's dissolved so instantly that we don't really embrace the anger for very long. So here we are. I'm saying this as a physical person. Our earth, the collective energy, or the tapestry of all the different people on the planet and the elemental beings, the animals, the plants, we all have a role in the creation of the earth's body. So we collectively create the earth's personality. Just like all my thoughts and feelings, you create the collective personality of Rose Sangregorio. So we've had for many years so much based on fear, so much based on power, power over others, manipulation. I don't want to get into all the negative stuff. We all know, right? And so we all know that this is not what we want anymore. We want to change the way we have been living. So just as I, Rose, choose or have chosen to change the personality that was based on my fears, our earth on a collective level needs to change. So all the people, all of us, connect at some level, on an unconscious level, unless you are a conscious person. We all connect. We all are strung together on the same necklace, if you will, and we're all the different beads on that necklace. And so our earth needs to change as well.
Right.
So just like I need to change the personality parts of me that no longer serve me as an ascended person, so too does our earth need to change parts of itself that no longer serves the greater good for this new personality to come in. So what makes up this earth? Well, we have the individual people, we have then their families, we then have community, we then have the cities they live in, say the provinces or states, the counties, and we go into the country. Well, then from the country, we go into that part of the continent. We have like the different countries that make up Europe, the different countries that make the South America. And so we have all that also is coming into this new place of being.
Right, right.
And so on a general big picture level, this is what is happening. So I have brought through for so many years now that as we move into this paradigm that we're moving into now, this new golden age, this new awakening, again, different people call it different things.
Yeah.
It's all different names for the same thing. And so as we move into this, I've brought through many, many, many times that what is hidden will be revealed. You have a person who's very loving and says all the right words, and they're the volunteers, but they go around and they gossip, or they will be mean-spirited towards someone, or they will intentionally choose to hurt or harm someone. So sure, they give the personality, not the personality, that's not who they are. Their personality is the facade, but then the true energy that's hidden comes out whenever it needs to come out. Because
right. So
what is hidden has to be revealed.
So even though, and sometimes people don't even realize they have that part in them, or that they're doing things like that, like, because they really want to be, like you say, a good person. They're really committed, like in their mind, I'm committed. I do good works. I want to, this is what my life path. I love doing this stuff. And then at the same time, maybe turning around and saying, and that person doesn't do good work, so they're not very nice. And so they're saying things like that, which is the stuff that might come to visit them, in the sense of they maybe have been doing that for years and they just accepted it. All of a sudden, now somebody will say, hey, they'll call them on it. So that's what you mean by being revealed, right? Like sometimes it'll come out like that. Or you're doing something, maybe you've been cheating on your taxes for years and years and not even thinking you were, and at the same time criticizing people who are on welfare, not recognizing your part in corporate welfare, or you're even manipulating the system. So all of a sudden that will come out, like in the little ways. And so at the same time, if I'm getting this right, the countries and the bigger picture, so individually it happens, and then in each country we're seeing these changes in governments, things that just really are not serving the highest good, that are not cooperative and respecting the planet, the people. That's being revealed in order for us to change. Is that?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
And it's painful sometimes.
Well, again, like I say, I'm making an assumption here that many people who listen to this program that are attracted to it, we've all been through a lot of stuff to change the negative parts of us. I mean, I know for myself how difficult it's been at times, and painful and traumatic at times. You make this change thinking it's going to be good, and you're excited and it feels good to you, and then somebody who you love dearly says, I don't like you anymore. You have to think about that. Like, our world, to reach this ascended state, okay, so our world has moved into the fifth dimension, but sure, it's there. I'm already an ascended master, so are you, so is everyone listening to this. But the trick, right, the challenge is to be that ascended master energy, or Christ itself energy, or divine presence. I prefer that divine energy. So to be that divine presence, I have to get rid of within me all those things, all those parts of me, all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the emotions, all the beliefs, all the habits, all the behaviors. I mean, you think about the layers, right?
Yeah.
I have to change all of those parts of me that are no longer part of this divine presence that I wish to bring forward or into myself so that I can share it on this planet. Well, it's not pleasant sometimes.
No, that's right. It isn't. And the other part of it is that what you said was really, I think a lot of people will know this. But some people who I'm noticing, and I want to speak to the different levels too, because I notice that there's more people starting to gravitate to this kind of understanding, because a lot of people are doing it for 20 years or so, but there's new people now starting to say, what are they talking about? Okay, this isn't going away, and maybe I need to have a look-see. And what I notice is that when you change and you start looking at yourself and doing your personal work, and like you say, looking at your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, or having stuff come in your face like that says, you're not a very nice person, and you notice and you think, wow. So then you have to, if you want to change, you're going to have to forgive yourself for that behavior and ask other people to forgive you, and so forth. And as you go through that process, you will change. But the people that are in your life, like you say, they're not choosing what you're choosing necessarily, so they're not going to maybe like you. But the other part of it is, when you change, they will change. And whether they might change in a way that makes the relationship better, they might go away. Because once something is changed, everything changes. And that's something a lot of people, like you say, you think, oh, I'll do this personal work, I'll get into the spiritual aspect of myself, and then life will be rosy. And then instead it's, you get sick, you get chaos, the relationships fall apart and all that stuff. And if you can know that could happen, I think you're better off than if you think it's going to be that perfection. I mean, it really, if you talk about the biblical Christ, I mean, it wasn't rosy for him, that's for sure. I mean, it can happen now.
You hear that from any of the great teachers, right? They all had their traumas and their stuff that came up for them to reach that presence that they became and that we look to becoming. And so here we have this planet that has all these people that have all their personal stuff to shift and change, which affects everything else, right? The whole. And so we have these countries, things that are hidden. I always go back to that. Things that are hidden need to be revealed. Things that are hidden, that are not in harmony, in unity and harmony at all levels of creation, that serve the greater good of all, that are part of this whole paradigm that we live in, they have to be brought to the surface to be changed. And so, I don't want to point fingers, and I don't want to say one's bad and one's good, because that's not where I come from. I believe everything is divine order. Everything happens for the higher purpose of all creation. And there is a bigger picture that is always in service to the greater good of all. Even if we don't understand that picture here, even if we don't understand why this has to happen or why that has to happen, in the end, it is all part of the greater picture. And what I have found is that these little pockets that are happening around the world, the unrest in the different countries, the changes of government, it's because there are aspects of government in different countries that are perfect. They're perfect. There's aspects. But then there's also those aspects in governments that are not so perfect, that they are based on power and manipulation. They are based on corruption. And so that, as we bring more of this light into this planet, just like I bring more light into my body, the part of me that is corrupted or that is in a negative place has to be revealed so that I can see, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. I didn't realize that taking that pen home from work, because they have tons of pen in the storeroom, but I'm going to take a pen home because I'd rather take that than go buy one. I didn't realize that that actually is theft. and people don't, it's really an interesting thing when you start to realize where you are not walking the talk of the spiritual divine person.
Yeah, and the thing is that what people don't realize either is that it has the effect on you. It's not just that you took the pen and you, like you say, minimalizing it. Well, they've got lots, or I did this for them, and whatever. We rationalize, but when we're doing something that really we do know at a certain level is not in integrity, it has that physical effect on our body and on our lives. Yeah. And that's what, I think. And I wanted to go, there was something you were saying there or we were talking about, and I wanted to just kind of get some clarity from you on this. When I used the example of Christ, and I said that how his life, didn't become all rosy, but I have this understanding that now, 2,000 years later, now at this time on the planet, if we do our work, if we do become more awake and aware and embody that Christ itself, that divine presence, and become conscious of it, that because we can have a somewhat rosy experience of life. Like, I don't want it to be giving saying that, which is the old message, I think, the old paradigm, that if you're going to have a spiritual life and you're going to do good works, then you have to give up all material possessions, and that you're going to suffer. Suffering is, just the way of a spiritual warrior or a spiritual life. And I think that's changed. That's my, what I'm inspired to believe is that we now because of the changes on the planet, because the earth is going to a higher vibration, we will have more opportunities to really thrive. We don't suffering is optional now. I just, that's a feeling I have, and I don't want to diminish it, and at the same time I don't want to make it sound like, yeah, just do a little hocus pocus and everything's going to be perfect. So what's your take on that kind of mindset?
Well, I agree with you. The old way is, no pain, no gain. You have to go through trauma to be able to come out on the other side. You mentioned, to be a spiritual warrior, to be a spiritual person, we have to let go of everything. Well, I do want to say this. Again, this is my teachings. This is where I've been taught from my guides, the masters, and the angels, etc. We can choose a more graceful path to become all that we are meant to be as a spiritual ascended being.
Right.
When we choose not to unfold the essence of who we are with ease and grace because we are afraid to let this go, or we're afraid to let that go. What if I do this and then I make someone mad? What if I do that and they might leave me? Mm-hmm. Those are things that we then choose to do that will create possibly some traumatic effects in our lives. Because when it's the right timing, in your heart of hearts, that inner knowing, that inner strength, this is the right thing to do to serve the greater good of all. I might not understand all of it. Mm-hmm. I might not know what the end result is going to be, but I know this is the right thing to do to serve everyone, not just for myself, and not just for you, and not just for my family. This is for everyone. This is the right action. And when I choose to do that, everything falls into place with more ease and grace. Now, if I know fully, completely inside of me that this is the right action, then anything that happens around me is something that can unfold again in its divine purpose and order.
Right.
But it won't affect me because I am of that event, right? I'm part of it, right, but I'm not attached to it. Which brings me to the comment of letting go of things, all the material world stuff.
Right.
I believe very much that that is part of our initiation process as we become initiates of the light, initiates of the divine.
Right.
To be able to truly embrace my divine presence. I love beautiful things. I love the house I have. I love the car we have. I love beautiful things. But if it was taken away tomorrow for whatever reason, and I'm left with nothing, I'm okay with that too. It won't change the person I am.
Right.
It won't change how I talk to people, how I help people, how I respond. I am who I am, just as I am. So in the process of spiritual growth, we need to come to that place where our attachments become non-attachment. It's okay to have everything I want, and more than anything I want. But if it's not there, it's okay too. But I'm not saying it from a place of, well, the sour grapes idea.
Yeah.
Well, if I can't have it, I don't want it anyway. Who wants it? That's not the energy I'm talking about. I'm talking about that energy of inner strength and knowing that I am perfect the way I am. I get better, and better every moment of every day. And all the things around me are just part of the creation.
And that includes relationships as
Of course,
well.
all the people as well. So it's all part of my creation on this planet. And if something comes up, if there's a person in my life that I'm not resonating with, then it's the right action to say, maybe we need to take a break from each other, or maybe I need to allow you to go live your life and I live my life. And sometimes you come back together in the future and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And that's all okay. So what ends up happening is that I know this is hard for some people because it's a very difficult concept. Especially when it comes to children and the loss of children, whether they're alive and they decide to go across to the other side of the world and they don't want to talk to you ever again, that's okay too. It's their life. And it's the life I am part of, and I bless them in all that they do. Or if a child passes away, that's okay too. And I bless them on their journey in spirit. But the thing is, we have to learn to create within our being that essence of all that we create is perfect. And if it's not properly aligned to me, it's okay to let it go.
Yeah.
And it's okay if that person turns around and says to you, I hate you because you don't love me anymore. Or, you're different. We used to be friends and we used to have so much good times, and now, you're just so different. But, in the end, if you're coming from your heart and your inner knowing, then it's all okay. So I want to bring it back to the global level, because some people are thinking, wow, so what does that mean, right? With Hungary and Argentina and the stuff in Egypt and the
Venezuela.
Olympics, Venezuela. It's just the GMO stuff, right?
Yeah.
All of this stuff has to come to the surface. And as soon as I choose, because it's a choice, I choose to make it right or wrong, I am feeding the energies that are making the trauma or the disturbances come to light. It's okay that the GMO stuff happened so that we could now come to the realization that, wow, this doesn't work for me anymore. It did when they came up with it. It worked at that time. It was fine. But it doesn't work anymore. So this has to change. Now, what we are learning on a collective level on this planet right now is that the voice of the people can be heard. And if it comes from a place of knowing that it's the right action, then what will unfold. It'll appear maybe traumatic, but in the end result will be the perfection of the divine on this planet. So all these places that are saying, this doesn't work for me, this has to change, is the voice of the people coming into their inspired, ascended thoughts and feelings saying, this has to change. We won't allow this anymore. And that's really what's happening around the planet, is the voice of the people is coming up to the surface in oneness. In our new world, the whole idea of this new world is we live in harmony and peace, but it's because we cooperate with each other. We then can collaborate. I bring this to the table. This is the best of what I can offer. You bring what you can to the table. This is the best of what you can offer. And so as we start to bring the countries into alignment, we start to come together in unity and harmony, cooperating and collaborating together to create a new world. It doesn't mean that I make everybody else listen to me.
Right.
This means we work together. And the voice of the people on the planet right now is what's coming to the surface so that we can decide as a collective, this doesn't work. Let's see what works and how do we make it happen. But the process is the part that's difficult.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, so when a person becomes aware of, okay, say it's the food. Okay, we've realized that we've been having packaged food and things, that we didn't know what was in it, and now we're discovering that there's things in it. So you have, and how do we know that? Well, somebody is bringing the information forward, and sometimes it's mainstream media, and sometimes it's alternative media. And so what I'm a little bit confused about is it beneficial to share that kind of information, like on social media or when you're talking to people? Is it beneficial to say, hey, did you know that our food has been tampered with in this way, or that there's toxins, or fluoride, or the vaccines, our opinions on those things? Is it beneficial excuse me, to have that conversation, to sort of be helping to bring the information forward? And if so, I find some of that information, the way it comes forward, is coming from a place of fear. We have to act now. This is an emergency. We're going to all die. And it's like, I know that's not true, because I know, for me, I know that even though I have awareness that there's some things not right with my food and whatever, I bless everything I eat. If I'm going to eat it, I intend that it's going to serve my highest good, and that it is going to be a positive to my body. So it's not that I'm in denial that there could be things in there, but I do feel like there's a way for us to educate ourselves and inform and share, but to do it so that it comes from a place of, like you say, neutrality, I guess. I don't know. What do you think about? How do we make the changes? We can't not know. If we don't talk about it, then we wouldn't know what there is to change.
What I always tell people is it's important to be neutral. It's happening, and okay, so it's happening, whatever that is that's happening. So it's important to be neutral, to be aware of it. And then I say, well, I'd like to share this to give other people the awareness.
Right.
Not because I want other people to jump on the bandwagon and we're going to go in and destroy this person or that company or that country. We want to have the awareness so we can make different choices to change. Because if people are aware the GMO foods are not good for them,
yeah,
they will make another choice. But they need to be made aware. So you do need to pass this information on. I feel that it's important how you pass it on. If I pass on information from negativity and I try to get you into the negativity,
yeah,
then I'm going to say that's not appropriate. Not if you want to create a new world.
Yeah.
Because that's the old energy.
Right.
But if I can take that information and maybe, because some of the stuff that comes in is pretty negative.
Mm-hmm. And fear-based, really fear.
Very fear-based. And so if I can take that information, rewrite it in a way that is from neutrality, that is to create awareness,
mm-hmm,
to help people make their own choices and decisions. Because you know what? People are not stupid. People know what's right and wrong for them. So if I'm made aware that, this food, I don't know, the corn, has been genetically modified, and there's information showing, and I don't know if this is true or not, okay, I'm just making this up to give a point. There's information showing that corn is not good for you because it's so genetically modified that it's actually creating illness in your body. Well, if I'm given that information, I know I will think twice before I choose to eat corn, unless it's non-modified.
Yeah.
And so when people read this stuff, if it's given to them as neutrality, and this is, hey, for your information, this is what this is. Mm-hmm. Or for your information, this is what this company's doing. For your information, this is what this company, then we can make informed choices, not from fear, not from negativity or trying to hurt someone. We want to do it because it's the best for me.
Right.
And guess what? When it's good for me, it emanates out to the world, and it's good for everyone else.
Well, that's what, I have been recently, because I am aware of different things going on, but I've been kind of taking a different approach. I've been looking at this and thinking about, okay, we've been saturated with what is wrong with the world. And so I've been kind of seeking out, trying to find different companies, that are making different products that are good products in them, like healthy, natural, that they have a good ethics, that they're treating their employees well, to try to find those and to, feature them on the show, talk about them on different things. Because what I'm thinking is, once we have the information about, okay, this could be, like you say, corn, you go, oh, I got to check and find out if it's genetically modified before I know I can eat it. So if you actually knew there was a corn that was being produced in a certain area and it wasn't, then you don't have to keep going on and on about the bad thing. You just say, and that's how we really do vote and help force the decisions, because the planet still has that monetary connection. So we say, actually, here's what I'm going to buy. And that kind of felt, just recently I had this sort of inspiration to think, okay, I have this venue, which is my show, which is about getting real, and that might be another way to contribute in a positive way, or like you say, neutral. It's neutral too, but offering choices so that people would know, because we don't need to constantly be saturated with this thing's wrong and this thing's wrong. It's just like, I want to do my grocery shopping. Where's best to buy? Or where can I get the best quality, organic food? Or where can I... That's the kind of information I think people really will gravitate towards, and that will help shift us. If we know that knowledge is power. If we know we have these other choices, then that's what we're going to do.
That's the whole thing, because I know there's people on this planet. We all have our missions. We all have things we're here to do.
Right.
And I know there's people out there that are in the energy or the field of advocacy. Mm-hmm. So we used to call them the spiritual warriors. I don't care for that term anymore, because warrior, even though there is a spiritual warrior that is from neutrality, that does create that energy of, we need to break this down for the new to be brought in.
Right.
But this is more people who are here to advocate for the new, for this new world we want to create. And so as long as I can pass the information on with a neutral thing, it's okay if you choose to do anything about this or not. It's okay.
Yeah.
But here's the information. As an advocate, what I'm doing then is giving you the power to choose. And that's what this new world is about, is that we all have the power individually to choose. That is what's happening in Egypt. It's what's happening in Venezuela and in Hungary. This is what's happening. The people are choosing from their own personal power to make a change.
Yeah.
The people are choosing from their own inner knowing that this is the right thing to do, so I will do it.
But when you have the people coming out and saying, I'm choosing different now, and you have governments or bringing in military to try to keep them down, do you think that's how can we facilitate this change without so much violence? Do you think it's like the fact that, I mean, I know that those who've had perceived power and control over the masses, they know we're changing too, and they're sort of grappling with their last straws of the negative stuff, like, I want to hold on to that. And so there's going to be some resistance to the change. But I always think about Gandhi, and I recognize there was some violence that happened in his transition too. He was in nonviolent communication, but some of the people he was dealing with weren't coming from that space. Excuse me. So I think he did open it up to the possibility, but he still did experience some violence, and so did the people as that change took place. It wasn't an all-out war, but so when people look at that, Rose, that's what I'm thinking. Somebody's watching this and they're going, yeah, sure, but we have these people are shooting people, or they're, governments are bringing in martial law and so forth. So how can we see that still be in our place of neutrality and affect ease and grace transition? Or what do you recommend?
Well, what I recommend is this. First thing is, sometimes we have to have this happen for the changes to occur. And as you pointed out, even with Gandhi, there was some violence. And in the end, he was killed, right? That is a violent act.
Yeah.
And, but we have to trust that there's a bigger picture happening. Mm-hmm. And so when people ask me, what do? I always suggest that people do the I am breath, which is something that I've taught people from day one when I started teaching. The I am breath is literally bringing the light in from above and below into your heart. You fill yourself with this light and become one with it, and then you send it out in all directions. I have a CD for that, okay? Just so you know. But what you do is, once you do that and you come into your divine essence, then ask in your heart, what is my role? To serve the greater good of all. What am I here to do? Why has this come into my awareness? What am I supposed to do? So every person has their own thing that they need to do for that specific event. So where they're bringing out military and shooting people, to get fearful and get angry, I'm just creating more of the same. But if I'm in that state, that presence of my true self, I will know, wow, I just need to sit and pray. Maybe I'm Catholic and I like to pray, and I do 10 decades of the rosary with the intention that this energy goes to those people to receive whatever they need to receive in divine order. Not that the bad guys get killed and the good guys are saved, or vice versa, whatever. I don't put out intention with manipulation. I put out intention to serve the greater good of all. Because in the end, the ones who are doing the shooting think they're justified, and the one who are fighting think they're justified. So in the end, we want everyone to have the potential of making the choices from their inner core, which gives them the opportunity to make changes. So these governments that are hanging on for dear life to their old paradigms and doing whatever they can to hang on, if we have enough people on the planet just saying, just serve the light, whatever needs to happen, let it happen with ease and grace for the higher good of all. I send my prayers, I do a meditation, I send the light, or maybe I'm guided to go over there and do something physically. And, everyone's got a different path. So for me to say, do this, do that, is not the right thing.
I think that's a really good point there, that what you're saying, because some people, watching this may be saying, oh, sure, sitting, praying all the time, that's not going to do anything. Well, some people are called, and that's all they're called to do. And so especially you find a lot of people that can't physically do something else. Well, there's a reason you can't physically do, because your role is to pray. And then someone else's role might be to be an advocate, might be to protest. Like, I've often noticed that when there's protests happening, which, we've had some, historically, major changes have happened in our world for the good that came from some very sad beginning, some traumas, and a lot of things, because when one person had the power and others, mostly when the masses wanted to have their empowerment, their right to a good life, they had to fight for it. Now, I really believe that we are changing, and we can facilitate these things easier, but there still is that element we're still on planet Earth, and we still do have those things. But I just really want people that are watching to recognize that this isn't about judgment. It's not about the protester is right or wrong, the prayer is right or wrong, or anything. You have to know, like, I really get what you're saying, Rose, is each person has to know internally, I am called to do this, not because Rose said I need to sit and pray. I feel I want to pray now. And of course, we all know we can pray and act as well. It's not a separate thing. But not everybody is called to the protest. So when I see somebody making a judgment about, oh, those protesters are just disturbing my life, blah, blah, blah. Well, why don't they get a job? You hear all kinds of silly things said about people when they're doing something that the other person doesn't understand. I mean, I recognize that in my own life. There's been times where I felt I had to take a stand. I had to write a letter. I had to go and, speak my piece, or whatever it was, get involved in politics. I had to do it. It was just a calling inside of me, and there was no denying it. Doesn't mean that other people had to do exactly what I did. And there were other times in my life where I had no interest in that wasn't where I was at. So I think we really need to respect each other's where you're at. Like, it's okay.
And that's what I always say to people when they come to me and they say, what should I do? This is happening. It's like the best thing, whatever your spiritual practice is, do that and go into the presence of your divine self. The short path would be to do the I am breath. That's what I always tell people.
And so I'm going to put the link to that CD on the video so people can have access to that right away, because it just makes it easier sometimes for people to just, okay, I want that. I feel called to it, and that's...
It's a 9-minute meditation.
Cool.
But once you do it, it's amazing. It's amazing what it does. But once you go to neutral place, then ask, what is my role in this moment to serve the greater good of all, in unity and harmony at all levels of creation? What am I to do? And you'll know, like you'll feel it. It's like you get this feeling that, wow, I think I need to go there and do something. Maybe I need to go and volunteer with the Red Cross. Or maybe, wow, I need to start a prayer circle. Wow, I need to have a meditation night where everybody meditates together, holding the light, so that everyone involved in that situation can be inspired to do what's right action for the service of the greater good of all.
And usually when you have come from that space, everything you need, it's like, it's like the parting of the waters. Everything sort of falls into place when you're on your right path. It's like, even though it might be rocky, you might have a hard walk, but it'll be clear, and things will just sort of fall into place, right?
And you just know. So I want to correct something I said, to send the energy that people find the inspiration to serve the highest good of all. That's also manipulation to some regard for some people. I try to say to people, that was me trying to explain it. It's just literally you send the light with the intention that they receive it for whatever they need it.
Right.
And so if they need that presence of the divine to make a decision, to do something, they will. And if they need the presence of the divine to know in that moment they need to run and hide, it's whatever it needs to be. There's no attachment, no judgment.
Just sending.
Yeah. And that's how I tell people. But the big thing to understand right now, what's happening on our planet, is that everything that is no longer meant to be there has to come to the surface so it can be changed.
Yeah.
And
it's happening at every level.
It's happening at every level in all aspects. I mean, in finance, it's in technology, government, it's in everything. Healthcare, all these layers that can no longer sustain living in the presence of light or the divine have to be brought forward to be changed.
And the more light that is shining, it's like turning a light on in a dark room. If somebody tells you that what's in the dark room, you have no way of knowing if that's true, but they turn a light on, they don't have to tell you. You can see it. Yeah. And that's why we're seeing it, right? There is more light on the planet, so we can see this darkness and
totally
what's been hidden and often in plain view.
And sometimes people will say, yeah, but what about the terrorists? Somebody has to be there and watch out for the terrorists. Well, if I watch out for the terrorists from a place of fear and a place of righteousness, then I'm just creating the polarity energy for those terrorists to exist. And if I can do what I'm meant to do from the inner knowing, wow, I'm called to do this, to protect my country, my family, it's because it's a calling of the heart to serve the greater good of all, not from a place of righteousness, not from a place of fear. And again, I know that's hard for some people, but it gets easier the more you integrate your divine personality, which is about love, compassion. It's about action through compassion. It's about unity and harmony, all levels of creation. Our divine presence is about cooperation, integrity, collaboration, truth, honesty. When we carry those energies within us, we know exactly what to do.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why it's so important to do the work. If chances are, if you're watching this video and you've watched this long, you're probably either on your path or starting to say, all right, I need some tools. And so Rose, I know you have a lot of tools, and I know people can go to your website directly, and I'll put the link right on the video. But what kinds of, where did somebody that is watching this who's just starting to say, wow, look at all this stuff going on in the world, where do they start? Aside from the CD, the I Am CD, get your book. That's a great tool too.
I was just going to say, my book will help immensely. Yeah. Even though getting it, and if you're really new at this stuff, you might get it and you'll think, wow, this is way outside of my league. My suggestion is pick it up, open the book, just ask, show me what I need to know today. Open the book and read whatever chapter you just picked. And if you don't understand it, close your eyes, feel love in your heart and say, I need an understanding. It will come to you. I teach a lot of workshops. I've got one happening this weekend called Heal Yourself, Become Your Highest Potential. It's this weekend in Calgary. There's a healing circle on Friday night, but that workshop does help to give people the tools to look at what it is they need to heal or transform that's no longer of service to them. And literally going home with some tools on how to work on yourself.
Okay. And all that's on your calendar, on your website, because I'll put the dates up there. So because we're February, that'll be like February 20th or something, right? 21st.
22 and 23 is this weekend. The Friday night is a healing night, February 21. I know it's kind of late and there's people out of town that can't make it, but there's always workshops happening. I do them in different parts of Canada now and in Denmark. One thing I do want to say that I'm really excited about, and which I know is designed for the times we're in right now, is I'm doing a retreat in September, the first week of September, for 5 days. Part of it is instruction and part of it is in silence. The intention of the retreat is being able to consciously connect to the different levels of creation.
And where is that?
It'll be held just outside of Golden, BC.
Oh.
And it's an amazing workshop. And a retreat, I should say.
That's nice energy there too.
Pardon me?
That's a nice energy space there too.
Yes. And that retreat is about connecting to the nature spirits, the divas, the elemental beings, as well as the angels, archangels, and masters. So it's being the conduit, the physical person that connects at all levels. So that's what the retreat is doing.
And do you have to have a certain background before you can do it? Or is that for beginners or any level?
Any level, because I give instruction and then we go into silence. Well, so you have to be able to do silence for a couple of days.
Well, that's
But
perfect timing though, because that after the summer and in September, so that will be really great. And
it,
so
it'll help to become aware of your presence in the big picture,
yeah,
so that you can actually weather or go through with ease and grace the stuff that's happening on our planet as the changes occur.
yeah.
That's what the retreat is about.
Okay, and the book people can get from your website. We have the link on lgrcc.com, and of course Rose's profile page is there with lots of information and links back to Rose's events and her website, and it's terrific. I'm so glad, Rose, that you do what you do, and I know you can't do so many private sessions anymore like you used to, but you're reaching so many more people now, and this is very positive, because we really need this kind of help to I shouldn't say need. It's nice that it's there, because we are going through these changes on the planet, and wanting to not wait. I think that's the thing. We don't want to wait for someone else to figure it out anymore. A lot of us are saying, what can I do? How do I affect this? We used to not accept, we used to think, oh, I'm only one. Now we realize I am one, and that is important.
And the one person can make the difference.
And we've seen that over and over again in history.
Yes, one person can make a difference. So, another way to help that I just thought of is I do trips, I do pilgrimages, and I do mystical shaman mystery school trips. So we're doing a trip, 2 weeks to Egypt, a week to Jordan, and a week to Israel, from March 15 to April 7. And it'll be on my website for people. I'll put instructions on there how you can join the energy matrix while we're there to support the work we're doing. And the work we're doing specifically for that trip, and there's the physical people there. It's a large group that's going. The work we're doing is to open up the energy so that we can come into a sense of oneness with each other, including religions.
Wow.
So religions are a path to God, to the divine, and it's okay, whatever religion you are, we're on this path together. And so that's sort of one of the dictates for that trip. So if people who are listening want to make a difference and to help, these pilgrimages, when we do them, do affect hugely into the collective on the planet. Every time we've done them, there's been huge changes afterwards.
Well, that might be something I can post, on my Facebook page and stuff to remind people that you're there and that we can share and work with you or something. Would it? Would that be helpful?
It would be very helpful. The more people that connect in, the stronger the power of the energy and the stronger the light that will emanate to the world to help shift these energies to whatever they need to be, however they need to shift.
Wow. Well, I will do that, and then I can encourage other people also to do that, to share. If we can share it through social media, I mean, all over the world, we would be part of that energy to help you,
the collective,
to help us.
Yeah, exactly. And then it all ties into what we're doing here on today's. It's part of what's happening on our planet. Yeah. So we can bring more ease and grace to the planet as things change. And the last thing I want to mention is that in November, the Mystical Shaman Mystery School, we're going to be doing a trip to Bali again. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a Bali one listed on the website that says it's full. That was last year's trip. We just announced this one just last week to go to Bali. If anyone is interested, you can come physically with us. And then again, about a few weeks before we actually physically go, people can actually join in energetically.
Okay. And that'll be, you're updating that information so people can know all about that Bali. Ooh.
Mystical Bali.
Yeah.
Magic.
Well, that'll be very exciting. Well, we have, for not knowing where we were going to go, we really went. So I like that.
I do too. I love it.
I love it.
I just want to say to everyone, it's important at this time to do a spiritual practice, whatever it is, minimum 15 minutes a day, That's the message I've received from the masters and the guides, that it's important every person does 15 minutes a day. It can be whatever you like. I'm not saying to sit in silence for 15 minutes if that's not your bag. It could be sitting in nature and feeling love in your heart, being one with nature. It can be praying with your heart, formal prayer, non-formal. It can be whatever. The message is, this will help all of us not only to embody more fully our divine personalities, but also it will help our presence, the energy we carry as an individual, to collectively create what we want for the planet. So the daily spiritual practice is very important.
Good reminder.
Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah. I so appreciate, Rose, you sharing with us and being so open to this kind of exploration, because I really do think that energetically, just us having the conversation, it helps. And then when people watch it and share it and introduce their friends and so forth to the messages. And that way, when somebody, says, I just watched Rose and Catherine chatting about this, the other person is sort of, okay, doesn't mean they're going to have to share your beliefs. You can introduce it with no opinion, just be neutral, because, I really think that's important, because we're not all at the same point. I mean, I think that's important. So thank you so much, Rose, and I really do appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and thank you to everyone that has been listening, and I thank everyone. I am so honored. I truly mean this from my heart, that I am honored to be able to share in people's experiences on this planet, in this world, and to help the people I help. And I'm just so honored, and I thank you all for being here, and Catherine for creating the space and asking the questions that allow me to bring through the messages. And we'll talk to you all next time.
Yes.
Maybe we'll see some of you at the workshops.
That's what I was going to say. And I will definitely get this information, the links up here too, and try and get the video up as soon as possible so that more of you can know about it before this weekend. So for those of you watching, I really appreciate your continued support and sharing the videos and spreading the word. The show is spreading word of mouth, and I'm very happy to be able to bring it to you. So until next time, take care.
Bye. Thanks, Catherine.
Amazing. Thank you to my guests for sharing with us today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share the link. You can join us for live shows by going to letsgetrealchattinwithcatherine.com and listen to the replays from the show page, preview guests, and explore links to our Facebook fan page, WordPress blog, and more. We are creating an exquisite world. Until next time, take care.